Hey, what's up, beloved audience? It's Kyle here with Anime Soirée. That's right, we're sitting here with Griffin and Will, and we're talking about Burn the Witch, which is a three-episode OVA, an adaptation of, like, I guess, a one-shot that I think is being serialized now by Tight Kubo, the creator of Bleach. Um, and it's got good character designs. It's got some cool animation. Not much of a plot, but I think that we'll probably get into that right about now. What did you guys think about it?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting and it felt exactly like I thought it was going to feel with like when
Wait,
you
Will,
watch
could
anime.
you move your mic closer to your face?
I thought it was interesting, and that's probably what it was going for because it seemed very pilot-like, and I think it was just trying to grab the viewer's attention with the plot and the characters in the world, and I think it did a pretty good job of that. Like I was interested. Like, I mean, I didn't feel like I knew any of the characters too well, or like really was invested, but I think I wanted to be invested and wanted to learn more about the world. So I think it succeeded in that manner. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a dragon anime, so it's something that excites me when I think about it because the designs and like the ideas for the dragons were pretty cool. I'm like, why were the girls' dragons so small? Why was that guy's dragon invisible? I mean, well, not the guy. How was that girl's dragon invisible? How did that guy make his dragon come in with a spell? How can he use graffiti to summon a spell? Why did the girls' wands look like guns? So I had a lot
Why
of questions, and I thought there was a lot of cool design choices, and I want to know more.
why do they get to have friendly dragons, but there's also most of the dragons are bad or something? Why do they ride friendly dragons? How are these dragons friendly? Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there were really not a lot of explanations given on like the actual world. Like like the thing is dragons, right? Like it's all about dragons, and they're saying like, okay, like dragons are bad, and there's literally a prohibition on dragons. But then like everyone also just like has a dragon, so it's clearly not that like all dragons are bad. It's just that like some are bad, and they just get to decide which the good ones are and the bad ones. Like I don't know, not a lot of explanation, but it's whatever.
Talk about the prohibition being like you touch a dragon. I don't know if there's something bad that's happening when you touch a dragon, but it's like touch a dragon and you either get executed or you're like in jail for 100 years. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like,
and they literally have, like, the lick thing where it's like, if you're, like, a normal person and you, like, come into contact with the dragon and you have, like, a higher than whatever the threshold is, like, dragon ratio in your blood or in your saliva or whatever, like, you've been exposed to the dragon particles, then you're just, like, you're dead. Uh so, kinda weird,
Some
like,
of us
kind of
bad.
like the laws seem, like, so strict, but they never really explained, like, what was going on there, you know?
or they never really enforced them either.
Mhm.
And I thought that I think his name was Bulgo, the blonde-haired kid.
Yeah.
He was really funny. He was like my favorite
Yeah.
part of the show. When he was like doing like that little monologue where he was talking about how excited he was to like sit on the dragon behind Noelle. And he's like, because if it bumps, I might touch her boob, maybe. Who knows?
Honestly, I think my favorite is when his horn turns into the sword and his character just has the funniest expression of like astonishment on his face. Just like what is going on right now? And he's like super happy but also super shocked at what like the sword that just appeared out of nowhere. And just that face, I was cracking up.
Yeah, I mean, all the character designs in this are really good. That's pretty much, like, Kubo's strength, I would say. It's definitely not, like, plot or writing, it's just, like, everything looks really good, and, that's definitely very true in this. Like, I really liked all the character designs. All the girls were hot, all the dudes were cool. Um, yeah, I mean, and the dragons were cool too, the monster designs were sick. It was just very, like, pleasing to watch.
Some of the dialogue, yeah, was like pretty weird. Like, when the quote unquote cool dude with the blue hair, and then Noelle and what's this girl's name? The blonde haired girl.
Um,
Yeah, Ninny.
Ninny, Noel, and him were like riding up on like the white dragon, Cinderella, and like about to fight it, and he was like, "Yo, if you guys help me kill this dragon, I'll get you in my gang, basically." And they were like, "We don't want to be in your gang," and he's like, "You guys really pissed me off." And I was like, that was just kind of jarring, and I thought it was really funny.
It was like a callback to the earlier moment when she was like, "I want to join." I can't remember what they're called, the Spears or something. Like, she was like, "I want to join this cool like echelon of dragon killers or whatever." And she was like, "You should join too." And Noel's like, "I never said I wanted to join." And that was like they called back to that when he was like, "You guys can join my group," and they're like, "We never said you wanted to join," or something like that.
Oh, gotcha.
That makes a little bit more sense, but just the way he said, "You guys really pissed me off," I thought was really funny.
Oh yeah. Have you guys read or watched Bleach at all? Because apparently this takes place in the universe of Bleach.
Yeah,
Oh,
so like
really?
I feel like okay, like I've read like a little bit of it. I did not finish it. I like kind of like looked up how it ended basically just because I was curious, or like I like read a little bit of the ending just because I was curious to see how it end. Um and I mean it doesn't really make sense that this would take place in the same universe. Like they definitely at the end, because like the whole thing in like Bleach is like Soul Society is like the group that like they're like fighting these like evil spirits and stuff. And so Soul Society is like the thing. And so at the end of this, they have like a sign that says like Soul Society West Branch or whatever. But it like doesn't make sense because dragons are like not at all in like the universe of Bleach. Like none of this actually makes sense. Like if it was like in Bleach. And I think that was just like a joke basically because they like blew up the sign immediately after that too. So I don't really think that that was meant to be taken too seriously because like I mean maybe like they'll just like have Bleach characters show up later on, but like it didn't really seem like that would really make sense at all. And that would just bring up more questions. But this show, like so far, has not really been like shy about just like bringing up a bunch of questions that never get answered because that's pretty much like happened the entire like 3 episodes. It was just like bringing up as many plot points as possible and not really explaining them, which is like fine. Like I didn't really have like super high expectations about the plot just because I had read Bleach, or read some of it. So like, yeah, I don't know. Doesn't really fit with I think that was kind of just like a joke, or at least that's how it seemed to me.
Oh, like a reference, or like just like an
Basically.
homage? I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah,
Let's see. We can talk about characters in general, I guess. I think they're pretty
sure.
interesting.
Yeah, they're fine. I feel like yeah, I mean, like you said, like you were kind of like, I didn't really feel like I really got to know any of them over the course of it. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty true. Like they were like, I guess I kind of like want them to succeed and stuff. So like I care about them in like a very like superficial sense, but I don't really feel like I know them. Um, but like, everything that they were doing, like moment to moment was kind of cool. And like just the setting was interesting and like the stuff they were doing was cool, even though it wasn't really explained that much. So I had a good
Yeah,
time watching it.
you've got like Ninny. She's got a backstory with Macy. I guess they're in some kind of pop band, like a pretty big pop band.
I did
So
not pick up
Yeah.
on that at all. I did not
That
know
was like the entire
they're
plot with
like
her
talking about
friend.
it the whole time.
I didn't know that. I knew that they were connected. I thought they were just friends. I didn't know they were in a pop band.
She literally like at
They
the
said they
end,
were
at the beginning, she's
idols.
like being chased by the paparazzi.
Oh, I thought that just because she was like a dragon hunter.
Oh,
No, no, I'm pretty sure that like the people in like front London or forward London or whatever like don't know about dragons. Or they're like not
yeah,
supposed to know about dragons and witches and stuff.
How do
Even
people
though they
in?
didn't really explain like at first I thought that they were like in the same space, like that like forward London and like reverse London were like kind of like the same like physical location, like kind of like Harry Potter rules, I guess. But like then there was just like so much destruction that I was like, there's no way that can be true.
Yeah, how do they
Like
not know
people would have
about
found out about
dragons?
dragons. Yeah, exactly. And they literally say that dragons are like responsible for like 70% of all deaths in London or something.
a lot.
And it's like, bro, like how do they not know?
But yeah, Macy was
And they're
talking
like,
about
this is why there are dragons on the London coat of arms, and it's like, oh yes, this makes sense. Thank you for
Uh,
that explanation.
I guess there was like some sort of message in these 3 episodes because Nini like opened up like talking about like fairy tales, and she was like, basically fairy tales are stupid because like it's out of your control and you didn't really do anything, and like the laws of spells and magic are not like, I don't know, uh like they don't really have, like you don't have any power over the effect of a spell if you're the one being affected by it, I guess, and they're stupid. And then at the end, that Macy girl, she was like, "Oh, I want this dragon because I want it to make me feel important and special and all that stuff." And she thought she had some kind of relationship with the dragon, but then the dragon looked at her and was like, "I'm gonna kill you." And I guess that's a message. I don't know how strong of a message you can make in these
Yeah.
3 episodes, but it was definitely an attempt, and I get what he was saying. But I don't know. I guess it's there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
agree that that was there. It wasn't really expanded on. Like, it was pretty much just, like, brought up at the very beginning. Like, she starts the like, that's, like, probably the first line or, like, one of the first lines, like, almost certainly the first line that she says, and she's like, "Fairy tales are stupid and bullshit." And then, like, she's like, "You just gotta, like, the world sucks, and you gotta, like, watch out for yourself," and, like, that's all. And it's like, "Okay." And then that's, like, never really like, that's not really, like, part of, like, her arc, or I guess it kind of connects with, like, her friend's arc, that she was just sort of, like, wanting to be saved by the dragon. She wanted the dragon to, like, make her important or something. Um, and then, like, it's repeated again at the end where she's like, fairy tales are stupid, like, you have to, like, be responsible for your own shit, like, you can't just, like, wait for someone to save you. And then literally right after she says that, like, the fucking dude, like, the janitor or whatever, like, that one dude was that was, like, clearly, like, he was meant to look unimportant, and then, like, he, like, does the super crazy, like, he, like, snipes the dragon from, like, across London, and it's like, okay, she literally was just talking about how you can't wait for someone to save you, and then someone saves you. Like, is this, like, intentional? Or, like, am I giving him too much credit? Like, is this actually just, like, bad writing? I really don't know because I don't know where they're gonna go with this.
What was it?
I
The
really
You can
did
go ahead,
not
Will.
like. I really did not like the guy literally just sniping the dragon and one-shotting it. I thought that was really, really stupid. And I don't know, like they're building up this big fight thing, and like they're doing all these cool moves, and like, okay, I'm like, okay, how are they actually gonna beat this thing? Like, how are they gonna work together or whatever? And the fight just ends like immediately, or not immediately, like in an instant. By this character that we've seen him like a good amount of times, and they've talked about how he like was trying to act all like he was trying to be low key with that one police looking lady, and she was like, "Oh, perhaps I overestimated you," and then he turns out he's a super powerful mega wizard and one shots this dragon that they've been trying to fight for the whole episode, the whole last episode. I don't know. I feel like it was kind of lame, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd agree. I thought it was kind of anticlimactic, and for if you're only gonna have 3 episodes and you're building up to that, like, go out with a bang, not just have some
Like,
editor.
it didn't look like the fight was hopeless. Like they had moves that could trap it. At least they had like one move that could trap it, and it didn't look like their moves were like it didn't seem very invincible. So I feel like they could have just beaten it, but whatever.
yeah, and especially since they just built it up as, like, this is one of the 7 mythical dragons, and they, like, list off, like, all of the 7 mythical dragons, it's like, okay, so if those things were, like, supposed to be the most powerful shit, and then this guy comes along and just, like, one-shots him, like, what's gonna happen, like, down the line? Because it's like, I mean, this definitely seems like the point of it was to, like, set up for, like, a more long running kind of thing, just because there were so many questions that were unanswered, and it, like, kinda just seems like the point of it was to, like, throw as much out at you as possible and, like, basically just see if any of it, like, if you liked it, then, like, you just watch more or whatever. And I think that originally this was, like, supposed to be just a one shot or something, but then, like, they were like, "Oh, you can actually make this into, like, a full manga or whatever." So I think it is gonna start, like, having more chapters and shit. So it'll be interesting to see if, like, this actually turns into like a real anime.
Yeah, season
Um,
2 is like confirmed. Like they're working on more, like for sure.
oh shit. Okay.
And
All right.
it didn't confirm whether there was going to be an anime adaptation, but I mean, I guess it would just depend on the success of the manga and this OVA series.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's no way it's gonna be as successful as Bleach, just because like one of the things that like because this guy is like Bleach is like a shonen. It's like it's all about like it's just like any other where it's like you start from like nothing really, and then you kind of have to like slowly like learn more about like the power system and shit like that. This is like nothing like that. Like the our main characters like they already know everything. Like we're the ones who don't know shit, and they like don't really explain it. And so there's not really that same. There's no way that there can be that same kind of like gradual like buildup of power and like managing the power system and like character development or anything like that because it's just like they're already very competent. They're already able to like go toe to toe with like one of the seven mythical dragons. So it's like if this does like become a long running thing, like how are they gonna like make it so that there's like serious threats if like they've already like been able to like stand up to some of the most powerful shit?
yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do about that one. I feel like they might have kind of screwed themselves a little bit. Maybe they'll just bring the dragon back. I don't know, because they
Yeah,
only took
but then there'll
out
always be the
one.
possibility that that guy can just one shot it?
Well, they only
So it's
took
like,
out like one of the crown horns, I guess. So maybe it's not dead. Like I could see that because I think when that blue guy, the blue inked gang member guy, was like, "We have to destroy all of the different horns on the crown." Like they only got one. Like maybe he just like pissed off because one was destroyed. But if they were to save it, I could see him doing that. Save that dragon for future fights or whatever.
yeah.
Another
Yeah,
thing
it's
I
interesting.
wanted
This is
to
definitely not like a normal like start to like a shonen, like because it just seems like normally it's like people finding out more and more as you go, and this is like they're already like established. They've already like they already have all these powers. Like we don't know what their powers are, but like they have powers and shit.
speaking of established, one thing that I thought was an interesting mechanic of the show that they didn't really touch on was like there seemed to be like kind of like an RPG element to the show where whenever they would
Yeah,
catch something or kill something, they were like, "My reputation went up, my money went up," and I thought that that was interesting, but they didn't explain it at all, and it seemed like they were kind of pissed off a lot of the time that they weren't getting enough money and enough reputation, and like who's determining that? And it seems to be like a more and more popular like mechanic in animes. Like when I think like Konosuba and like Sword Art Online and like this show, having like video game esque mechanics and language in anime. And at like one point, Nini was like, "Dude, this guy's OP," and I was like, "Oh shit." Video game.
yeah. Yeah, they definitely like don't touch on that, like except for the very beginning where like that's kind of like the first thing they do is like they're like at like they're like you putting their phones into like some sort of like quest board or something to like get their experience points or whatever, the reputation. And then that's like never touched on again until the very end when they're like, "What? We didn't get any credit for like destroying the dragon?"
Yeah.
Um, even though they didn't really actually like defeat it or anything. So
Also, they
yeah,
never like
that
did
was
they
like
ever
not really
explain like what the what was that guy's name? Balgo was like a dragon something. I can't remember what his
Dragonclad.
yeah,
Dragonclad. Did
yeah.
they ever explain what that was? Because that was the one thing I was like probably the most curious about. Like, what does Dragonclad mean? Seems like somebody that like attracts dragons or has some kind of connection with dragons.
Yeah, it
Um,
seems like he was just attracting dragons, but they never really explained like why or like what circumstances would lead to a dragonclad existing. Like, is he just one of the dudes that like hangs around dragons like so much that like he has like the dragon particles like on him? And so
yeah,
that's what the dragons are attracted to. Maybe that's why they're like so afraid of people being exposed to dragons because if they get exposed to too many, they end up like this guy. But then at the same time, like that doesn't really make sense because all of like the witches and wizards like, they just have dragons that they're riding around on.
yeah.
So clearly, like, that can't be it. Like, yeah, they didn't really explain why. It was just sort of, like, clear that they were, like, he is a threat because he attracts dragons, and they were like, should we kill him? Probably. And then
Yeah, they
that's kind of
literally put
like,
out like a kill order on him. I'm like, holy shit,
yeah.
gotta be bad.
As well as the dragon-clad, like, I guess it's like a race of people, similar to like Skyrim. There'd be like Nord and like Red Guards. I guess dragon-clad would be like a race in the Burn the Witch world. At one point, they were like, Macy has a lot of mana. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
what does that mean? Like, I know what mana is, but like, are they using mana to like cast spells? Or I never saw Macy cast a spell. Do you need mana to use a dragon? I never saw them mention their relationship between their mana pool and the usage of a dragon. And I was like, that's cool that they have like actual mana, but I didn't know what that actually meant. So hopefully they can answer that as well at some point.
Yeah, I feel like there'll probably be like certain things that will get answered, and then certain things where we'll just never hear about them again, you know? Just because, like, I don't know if, like, at this point, like, in the story when Kubo was writing this, like, if he even knew that this would be a long series or whatever, you know, maybe he was just like, "Oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna, like, put a bunch of shit in here just 'cause." And then, like, now that he has to, like, actually turn it into a real story, he's kinda like, "Okay, now I need to decide which pieces I'm gonna, like, actually make important and which ones are gonna be, like, not ever relevant again."
I would actually like to, I probably won't, but I would like to read the manga just to see like if there's, I feel like there'd be a pretty substantial difference between this and the manga, because it seems like in the anime they put in a lot of stuff that you wouldn't want to put in a one-off manga. Like they're mentioning a lot of mechanics and like features of the world that need further explanation, and if you wrote a one-off manga, you wouldn't want to like include them because they'll never be explained. So I actually don't think, I don't really agree with you, Kyle, that a lot of it won't be explained. I know that's not really what you said, but you said some of it might not be explained. I feel like if he included something like that, you know, the anime adaptation, maybe at the point that they were adapting it, they knew they were getting a season 2, and they're like, oh shit, we're gonna have mana, we're gonna have like different races, we're gonna have motherfucking like RPG elements for like coins and like reputation and stuff and gangs and all this crazy stuff. I feel like all that stuff might have been added after the fact, but like I didn't read the manga, so I don't know, because it would make sense to explain it later on, but we'll see.
That's fair. Yeah, that's something where it's just like we don't know like what was in the original source material and what was added. But like also, like as someone who's like read some of Bleach and then stopped reading Bleach for a reason, like Kubo is not like the most competent writer. Like it's basically just like he's really good at like drawing, but like writing is not really his strong suit. So I could definitely see him like just and like he like in Bleach, like he was like trying to make it like a coherent like shonen like progression, like with like a power system and rules and shit. But it's like it didn't always make sense. And it's like that's not really like the point. So it wasn't really a huge deal. But like, you know, I could definitely see him being like, okay, I just finished Bleach. That took me like over a decade to write. Like now, like I'm just gonna like write something where I'm not gonna give a fuck about like the rules. Like I'm just gonna like put a bunch of shit in there just for fun, and like we'll see what happens. And like you know, kind of like yeah, I could see him doing that. Just like coming off of writing a really long manga that like took you know like that's like really rare for like a manga to like actually be successful enough to go on for like that long. Like Bleach is like one of the big three, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see him being just like exhausted with like keeping track of all that shit and just being like, all right, this is just gonna be I'm just gonna see what sticks.
That makes sense. I understand that perspective, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, it's all speculation at this point.
Let's see, what else was there? I guess, what would you guys like to see out of this show? Would you guys like to just see, like a full-fledged anime and maybe like take a couple steps back and maybe just have this kind of like a in medias res, kind of like in the middle of the story, they're a little bit further along? Or would you like them to maybe like continue the anime right where they left off kind of deal? Because there seemed like a decent long cast of characters. Like they had that entire council of like those people that like
Yeah.
I don't know what they were, but they seem like they make a lot of decisions. And they all
Yeah,
had
they're like literally like exactly the same as like in Bleach. There's like 13 of those guys, and they're like 13 guys like that are like the important dudes in Bleach. So it's like literally the same thing except just like with a different coat of paint. But like they all looked cool. Like when I
yeah.
was watching that scene of them all talking around the table, I was like, oh, like I would like to know like what all their powers are, and like I want to see these guys do cool shit because they have like good character designs, and like they're just like immediately like, fuck yeah, like these guys look cool.
I
And that's
even
like,
like
you know, that
I even like the text that they had when they like introduced all of them. And like the one girl who was like dressed in all black, she had like S's in her name, and they used like the SS like like as symbol from like the Nazis for the S's, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of bold, dude. Like I know she's like in all black and looks mean, but I was like, Jesus Christ.
I like the text too. Also, some of it was pretty hard to read.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I thought it was cool and stylized, and they had subtitles, so it's whatever. But I'd like to know more about them. More about. I honestly want them to take a step back and like explain some more shit. I don't want them to take
yeah.
off right from
I
here.
think going back in time a bit and maybe having that like that arc or that little event thing that just happened, maybe like the end of the first season, and like spend the first season building up, or maybe like the middle of the first season, I don't know, and spend like before that like building up why we should care about Noel and Ninny, maybe a bit about Ninny and Macy's falling out, stuff like that. Getting Macy like her with the dragon early, and maybe like some hints about what the heck that dragon's all about and stuff like that. It'd be cool. Yeah, I definitely think that stepping back a bit, not even just like time wise, I think would be a good idea.
My only fear is I don't think he's gonna do that. I feel like I don't know. I'd have to read the manga to know, but I feel like there was too much explaining, and I feel like he's just gonna leave right where he left off. And oh no, I wish it would have been more fast paced. I wish it would have been more about the action, the design, the drawing, the moment to moment animation, and not so much like, oh, we have this mechanic, this mechanic, this mechanic, this character, this character, this character. They're doing this shit, this shit, this shit. This guy's this, and he has mana, and he's in a gang, and he's this guy. And I feel like they did a lot of that, and it was kind of overwhelming. But I wish they would have emphasized the action, and then maybe like take a step back, and then I don't know, they could have done something cool in parallel where it would have been like, you know, the introduction to this and these characters a little bit heavier with in parallel like the conclusion of that. I've seen some other shows do something similar, but I feel like they maybe took it a little bit too slow, so I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll just have to see.
And I mean, I'm okay with like in medias res, like if that was the beginning of the show, as long as like I feel satisfied with how they explain it afterwards. Like if they do a good enough job, like explaining everything eventually, and like it doesn't just disappear or not make sense or something, like I'm okay with it. But I think it's a lot harder to do that without going back a bit.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna have to happen at some point. I just hope he does it in a coherent way, because what Kyle's saying makes it seem like that might not happen. Makes me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that like ideally, like the way that I would best like to watch more of this is like if this was like more OVAs, and like because then it would have like better budget as opposed to like a full season of anime where it's like you're gonna have less budget per episode. So it's like they're gonna look less good because there's just gonna be less animation. Because I thought like the strengths of this like were the visuals, like both like the designs and like the animation as well. Um, so like I don't really care like if they don't really explain that much going forward. Like ideally I would just love to get like another OVA of this that like Griffin said, like is not so focused on introducing like a bunch of new like fun ideas, and instead is just more like literally just cool animation and like moment to moment stuff, because that would like I'd be okay with that. Like, I wouldn't really care that much about having all these unanswered questions from like the first batch of episodes if the next one just like kind of like delivers on the strengths of what this one had.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too. Maybe if they did another batch of OVAs and then led into an anime series, I think that would be fine. Or maybe like a season of anime and then some more OVAs, because I'd kind of like to see, like, it looks so good. Like, if every anime I watched looked like this, I would be very, very happy because it did really
Yeah.
look good. All the characters look really sharp, and the
Yeah.
animations were so sick, and you could tell that they definitely put a lot of time and effort into a lot of the hand drawn stuff, and even some of the CGI looked really, really good, which was cool.
Yeah, there were
So
definitely,
anything
like, some
else?
parts of it where you can, like, tell that this was, like, a manga adaptation because it was, like, scenes of just people talking, and it's like, "Okay, I don't really care about this because, like, you're just explaining mechanics that are just giving me more questions than answers." But it's like, when it was looking good, it was looking really good, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Is there anything else? It's pretty short, so if you guys have any crazy things you want to talk about, go for it. I didn't really pay attention to the music. I guess we didn't really talk about the music.
Yeah, I
Nothing
didn't
really
really
stuck
pay
out to me
attention
about
either.
the music. I don't know. Just in general, the I don't know. Like I said earlier, it's got a lot of cool ideas. Especially, I really liked because like we were mentioning how you wanted to see all the powers of those council members, and the one council member we did get to see, those powers are pretty freaking cool, like graffiti-based powers, and he's got like his
Yeah.
dragon. He's doing the graffiti on the dragon, but then he's doing it in the air later. Like that's some cool ass idea. And
Yeah, I love, like, using magic, like, with just, like, with, like, spray paint and shit.
yeah,
Like, that's, like you know, it's, like, not, like it's not super, like, deep or anything, like, it's not, like, relevant to, like, the plot or, like, his character because we don't really know anything about his character, but it's just, like, it's cool to see, and, like, I would love to see just, like, that for, like, 12 more guys of, like, unique and interesting powers, like, I would be totally down to see that.
It was weird because it seemed like he had like a very like personalized like magic ensemble, right? Like he had like the graffiti ability, which seemed to be like basically his like wand. If you were to like go to the like what your idea of a wizard is, they'd have a wand. His was the graffiti spray can, and then these chicks just like had like little magic wand guns, and I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
lame. It would be cool if they had something more personalized. Maybe they're not there yet. Maybe they just don't have that, ability, or maybe at some point as a magician or a wizard, you get that ability. I'm not sure, but one other thing I thought was kind of funny was like that tabloid business company. I thought that was really funny to have that in like a magic setting, and for it to be like what incited a plot point. Like I'd honestly like to see more of them because I thought that was a pretty funny sequence when they were just like talking shit about like wizards.
Yeah. What you were saying about, like, them developing, like, a personal power later on, I could definitely see that happening because, like, it's, like, pretty similar in Bleach where, like, everyone, like, has their own, like, Bankai, which is, like it's, like, a special power that, like, only that person has, and so, like, pretty much, like, what kept me reading for, like, when I was actually, like, reading more of it was like, "Oh shit, I wanna see" like, it basically exactly what we're talking about. It was like, I wanna see, like, what this character's Bankai is because, like,
yeah,
they were all, like, super cool, and so it's like that, like, I could definitely see, like, the main characters developing it, and then also a big draw of the series being like, "Okay, what are the, like, Bankai of the other dudes?" Like, of, like, the 13, like, special guys
yeah.
because,
It's like
like yeah.
Hunter x Hunter when they introduced the council in that. They all look really, really interesting and like crazy looking, and you're like, okay, I want to see all of their Nen powers. Or like
Yeah,
with
and those are also Zodiac guys because these are
yeah,
all Zodiac dudes too.
it's probably I guess it's a pretty common anime trope, but
Yeah.
also with like character like Kite, like I talk about this with Mason a lot. Like Kite has a really cool Nen power. You just want to see more and more of it. So it's probably a good idea, good way to like pull your audience in. And on the topic of like their gun things, I think it's because they were part of like an organization that they said like their job is to like capture and like put them in captivity of the dragons. So their guns were like half or like part gun, but they're also like you flip them around and they're a horn or like some kind of horn. That's why the
Oh,
other guy
yeah.
had a horn, like the toy little horn. So that's why they looked like guns, I guess, because it's like an easy flip it around. It's a horn type of thing, and that somehow them playing the horn is how they. I can't remember what the organization they were part of was called, but it had some kind of, it was like the sounding.
I think it was like something wing, maybe. I
Well, that
don't.
was their overall organization, but like their branch was something
Oh,
else.
their specific like branch or whatever.
Yeah, Wingbind was their organization.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like something to do with like playing music or something.
Yeah, there's so
I
many
don't
things like that where it's just like they bring it up and they don't answer. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay. At a certain point, you just stop paying attention, or at least I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like originally you're like, oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? And then they start throwing these things around. You're just like, okay, I'm gonna move on and like pay attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'll just say that the humor was pretty good, I guess, generally. I thought it was pretty funny when it tried to be funny, with like that dog who was like, Noelle, give me your panties. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, because that was something when the dog first like grew his wings. That's like what you heard first, and I was just like, what the heck? And then they didn't explain it, and then you're like, I completely forgot about it, and then you hear it again, and like, oh, it's the dog. Gotcha.
It's pretty funny that a
Yeah.
dog is like a dragon, right? Like that's pretty interesting.
I think it
design
was
choice.
because the dog was like spending so much time with Balgo, and he's like a dragon boy that like he like turned his dog into a dragon or something.
Oh, okay. That might make more sense. Okay.
I don't know though. Like that was just like the impression I got. They definitely did not like explain the mechanics of it. So
I was like, because it kind of
Yeah.
seemed like he got the short end of the stick, because
Yeah.
Macy got like a pretty.
His dragon is just a dog most of the time. So
Oh yeah, so they were in a Piper division, and the one that Nini looked into, she wanted to be a Saber, part of the Saber division. So I'm guessing the Sabers
Okay.
are more of like the fighting based, and then Pipers are like the capture based.
Okay.
That's the vibe.
Yeah, I can see that.
Was there anything else that we want to talk about? This is pretty short.
Yeah, I mean, pretty short. I mean, we could talk more about like the specific like plot points that were left unanswered, but it's like we could. I mean, that's just like pretty much.
It'll be all
Like,
be speculation.
There's not really much we can talk about that besides just being like, yep, they didn't answer the questions that they brought up.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of like they were going through like the 7 dragons are named after fairy tales, and they like went through the first 6, and then in my head I'm like, what did she call that dragon earlier? Ellie? Oh, it's probably gonna be Cinderella, and they ended up being
Yeah.
Cinderella, and I kind of like that. I don't know. I guess like the incorporation of like Western media with Eastern media is pretty cool, and I like that. It looked pretty. It was a cool concept, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, London is like a cool looking city. Like, I definitely see why Kubo wanted to like set his next thing in London because like it looks cool. Like anime in London looks cool. Fucking shout out to the K-On movie.
Wait, why didn't they have British Japanese accents, guys?
That was
Yeah.
so funny. Also, the design of Cinderella was pretty sick. The crown on the head.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I have no.
Yeah,
complaints.
all of like the designs are just so good in this.
Yeah,
Like,
I have
mean,
no complaints about them. Any of the designs.
Yeah, they were all like really, like you said, Griffin, like really sharp. Like that's kind of like the Kubo aesthetic is like they're all really sharp and they all look good, and yeah, it was very appealing on a visual sense. Like not just the animation, but
It was
also
like
just
comforting almost. I don't know if that's weird to say, but like it felt like good.
Even like the leads' outfits were cool with like the little like half cape with like the.
Yeah, it was like a plaid cape.
Yeah. I want
cool.
to say they were Scottish, but like they're like clearly they're in London, so
their like boss was wearing it like a kilt.
yeah,
He had his around
it
his
is
waist.
so cool.
And then I guess it's their uniform because they gave Balgo one, and they're like, "Bro, cape, here's your cape, bro.
Yeah,
welcome."
It reminded me of like Sherlock Holmes, like old classic, like with the deerstalker cap, and I think he's got like a thing around his shoulders, like.
Yeah, he totally does, like one of those like short things.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, that's like pretty British, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess he didn't waste any time getting the aesthetic out there.
And
the aesthetic of this was on point for sure.
Very on.
And at the end, I guess Macy is now a part of the crew, which I'm not that thrilled about because like she's pretty boring. I don't understand how like she qualifies either.
Yeah, she has mana though.
Wait, didn't they say Balgo is gonna join too?
I mean, yeah, but like he has a qualification.
Pretty much like the main character. I mean, like the main dude.
Really?
I guess the main character was more like Nini, I guess.
There's some, at least there's something special about Bulga. What was special about Macy other than, oh, she was a high mana pool? It's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's like the just like that's like the sort of thing that they like that they'll always like say about characters in shonen when they want you to think they're cool, but it's like, dude, like the way that you like make a character look cool is just by having them do cool shit, not just having other characters say that they're cool, you know? Like that will never work.
Yeah.
Yandere, guys, that's important.
It's like the same thing with like, hey guys, like I'm really smart. Like if I ever say something stupid, don't worry about it because I'm really smart. Like don't worry about it. And
I
it's
was
like,
talking
how
to Will about,
convincing
like,
is
in
that?
yeah. I was talking to Will about like in Attack on Titan, like in the near the beginning when they're like at like the battle, like the first battle, like after the first one, after like the first like complete massacre, like in like I think Trost is what it is, where like they're like trying to hype up like John as like the leader guy. And like they literally just have like Marco like ride next to him like on their like 3D gear. And he's like, dude, John, you're such a good leader, bro. Like you're so sick at being a leader. And it's like, bro, like you're literally in the middle of a battle. Like no one would be saying this. Like what is going on? And it's like basically that, where it's just like other characters hyping you up. And it's
It
like,
gets
okay.
a little bit more in Attack on Titan's defense. There is like some scenes where John like actually is a good leader, I guess, for like the scrubbies.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like actually badass people doing something, and then John's like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm joining too. And they're like, oh, dude, John, you're a good leader. And it's like, well, he just copied like what Mikasa did, or what Captain Levi did, or Aaron did. It's like, okay, he's just the first.
It's because the author knows that John isn't that cool, so he has to like make other people hype him up so that like people will think that he's cool.
Yeah, he's We'll talk about it eventually, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have not, you know, to the viewers, I have not seen that much Attack on Titan, so I don't know what's coming down the pipeline. So
Does he get better? Who knows? I don't know.
who knows?
Who knows? But I mean, in terms of this show, like I think I'm done talking about. I don't have anything else to say really. If you guys want to wrap up,
Yeah. Pretty light. I don't feel the need to say much
I like
more.
that. It was light. It was kind of refreshing. Lots of questions unanswered. That got me interested, but also like kind of took away from it because they kept popping up. If I want to give a score, I guess I'd probably give it like a 7.
Yeah, I'd probably give this like a 6, just because like, you know, it was like it was good, and like I didn't really have that much expectations, so I can't say I was like disappointed by this. Like I basically got exactly what I expected from like a Kubo thing, which is just like it's going to look good, it's going to be pretty, like the character designs are going to look good, but the writing won't be that good. And that's basically exactly what I got. Although the animation was pretty stellar on top of that, so I give it props for that. This is definitely not something that I want to like come back to or anything, but I would recommend it to people. Like it's definitely like above average. I would just like tell them like not to focus too much on the plot because it's not really that important. Like it's just looking at it is the appeal basically.
I'd probably give this an optimistic 6. I'm glad that they're making more, but I'd like to know about more, you know, how they're going to do that, like what the format of the next incoming content is going to be. So I'm a little skeptical when I say an optimistic 6. I enjoyed it. It was just fun. Character designs, the animations, the action sequences, except for the ending where they kind of left us hanging a little bit. It was all really enjoyable. They just asked a lot of questions and they weren't willing to give answers, and it's like, well, why even ask the question in the first place? Which is just like, at some point I tuned it out, but it's just like, why? Like, you're not going to answer this to me, and you're asking too many questions, and I don't know what the significance is, and it's not going to improve my enjoyment of what the good parts of the show are. That's why I don't understand it, because it's not improving my experience. I don't even think it would improve my experience if you explained it, like in a full anime season next season, because that's the time to explain it. You don't need to introduce those concepts to me now. So yeah, like an optimistic 6 for sure. I am hopeful for this. I think I will enjoy what they put out next, but I don't think it's going to get that deep. But if the animation quality is anywhere near as good as this, like I'm gonna like it. It was good.
Same. Yeah, I would definitely like. I hope the next thing is another OVA, like I said, because then we can pretty much and by the same studio, which what studio did
You don't
this?
want to like another full
Colorito.
season?
Oh, it's gonna be a full season. Is
No,
that
do you want?
confirmed?
You saying you don't want a full season? You'd prefer an OVA?
Oh, well, I would prefer an OVA, but like if it was a full season, I would watch it for the podcast. Um, and I don't know if I would watch it on my like if it was just up to me though. Like I don't know. Maybe if like it got hyped up and people were like, "Dude, it's actually good," then I would be like, "Okay." But if it's another OVA, then it's like, yeah, I'll definitely just watch it because it's like it's 3 episodes. Like what's like that's just an hour of my time, and like it's probably gonna look as good as this, so it'll
Well,
be worth.
wouldn't there probably be like the same issues with another OVA? That's the only problem that I would have.
Well, yeah, but
If
like
you
I
can't
know what I'm expecting going in, so
I
like I
guess.
think that I don't think that the downsides were like that bad. It's just that like I can't, you know, I wouldn't say this is like anywhere close to like one of my favorite things just because there was like it just doesn't have that much depth to it. There's like it's pretty surface level, but it was enjoyable on that level. So if it was another OVA, I would be prepared to enjoy it in the same way that I enjoyed this.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fair. Um,
But yeah, if it's a season, I might watch it too.
yeah. I mean, if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, Burn the Witch related or not, we're at like 50 minutes. So I know we usually run an hour, so we can either cut it short or if there's like anything anime related you guys
Do
want
we
to
want
talk
to talk
about.
about like our plans for Attack on Titan and what we're doing next week?
Yeah, well, why don't you go ahead and introduce that idea because I'm pretty sure it was yours.
So we're going to every week with the new release of the Attack on Titan episode, we're going to be doing like a little, probably 30-minute, maybe a little less minute discussion on that episode of top of the usual whatever we're watching that week. I think next week we're planning on doing Keep Your Hands Off Aizo-kun or Aizuken. If that's okay with everybody.
Yep, I'm good
It's
with that. I've heard
the
good things about that show.
12 episode one.
Yeah.
And then we'll do like a little 30-minute. I'm not sure if we're going to keep it on the, if we're doing like uploading the video, we're going to separate them and upload it as a separate video or keep it on the same video. But yeah, next.
I think in terms of YouTube, it'll probably be two separate videos. I think, but for the Twitch live stream, it'll be one continuous thing. It'll be all recorded at the same
One
time.
continuous thing, and the last 30 minutes will be Attack on Titan Season 4, Episode 1 discussion, which comes out really soon, 12 hours, I think, something like that.
Oh, it comes out in 12 hours?
Yeah, I think it comes out on the 6th at like, because it's like Japanese time zone, the 7th, but here I think it's the 6th.
Really? I thought it came out next weekend. Maybe I'm.
There was like a countdown website that I saw. Let me look at, and it had it coming out like even earlier than that.
Let me see. I want to check too. Attack on Titan. Oh yeah, you're right. For me it says the 7th. So if that's Japanese time, then yeah, that should be pretty soon because we're on the 5th right now. Almost
Damn,
the 6th.
I have Attack on Titan to watch then.
Yeah. I guess if Kyle, you're not caught up, you might be left out of the first episode then.
That's fine. Yeah.
I guess that we can do that, right? Well, like it's if it's one episode of it, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
That's fine.
I mean, I don't mind sitting out if you guys don't mind doing a two person episode. I don't mind.
I mean, you'd just be
But
there for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'll try to catch up by
How
then because
far
I
are
would
you?
like to take part. I'm still on season 1, but we'll get there.
Got to put your hours in.
Yeah. This will be a big week for me in terms of watching anime.
Just, have Red Zone on maybe the second monitor tomorrow, and maybe have the
Yeah. Sounds good.
7 hours of commercial-free football and 7 hours of Attack.
Honestly, like Red Zone is one of those things that I probably could watch while simultaneously watching an anime.
I would.
I'd pause a lot.
I can only do Red Zone when my team's not playing. Like.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm devoting my full attention to it.
That's fair.
Unless it's a blowout. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's it for this week. Goodbye.
Bye.